This is Daybreak, and thank you for staying with us. The hashtag on Twitter is Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. The discussion was on offline here on the broadcast. Senator Medu, you had a point. Please proceed.
Oh, yeah. What I wanted to say, I know why my brother, Honorable Posing, would want to accuse the Deputy President of holding the President at Romso, because the Deputy President is speaking in very low language. That when they speak about inclusivity, unfortunately, the way the architecture of our Constitution is, it does not, it is a winner-takes-it-all kind of an architecture. There would be no room for, inclusivity of the opposition. And there is something that needs to be understood. The President, amongst the symbols of national unity, one of the symbols of the national unity is the presidency itself. And that is why he has to embrace, when he takes an oath to be president, he is the president of the Republic of Kenya. Not for, president for the people who voted for him. Okay. Not the president for regions that voted for him. That is why he has Kisis in his government. That is why he has Luos in his government, his own direct appointees. He has even appointed very key dockets in government to some places that never voted for him. Case on point is the PS for Interior. That is the heart of government. He's from Homa Bay. Homa Bay did not vote for President William Ruto, but he was, he is a cog in his government. So when they speak about inclusivity, that is where some of us feel that at the hot of the heels of a handshake that put this country in a very deep pit. All of us agree that the handshake government was not one of the best. So anything that would want us to, would seem to be taking us back there, we ran very, very quickly. Because, number two, it was actually one of our campaign pledges that we shall not and we cannot allow and entertain handshake government. Every time we go to...
There's no handshake government. There's a government. There's no description of such in the Constitution.
It's not a description in the Constitution, but me and you have been in Kenya. There was that arrangement that was not constitutional. It was never constitutional, but there was that kind of an arrangement in the previous administration, which has famously been referred to as the handshake government. It was not a government that is constitutional, but there was that kind of an arrangement. Finally, and it's something that I call a back and forth. If both teams had agreed to the bipartisan team that was being led by Otiende Omolo and Murugara, these new issues that are being introduced by the opposition, the issues doing the inclusivity, the issues to do with cost of living,
police accountability and police brutality,
and even electoral audit, were those issues ever there? They are not there. So we had already agreed on the 5. That's why we maintain, myself and Osoro maintain, that the issues that we have agreed to deal with are these five issues. I have said countless times, Ayub, when we speak about the cost of living, we have given our plan. What are we doing as a government? Because it is our responsibility. And I would want to agree with Senator Onyonga to the extent that if indeed the opposition thinks that what we are doing is wrong, I'm sure they would be clapping, because there would be a very easy route for them to remove us from power if they think that we are not doing the right thing. Okay. Facts are there, and they are proving that we are doing the right thing. For the first time since 2022, inflation came down. You know that we are now at 7.3. That's the lowest that it has come down in over 12 or 14 months, Ayub. We have spoken about, we as a government, we believe that the way to lower the cost of living is by subsidizing production. Then it should be for the opposition to criticize and say, do not subsidize production. I would have expected that it would be for Senator Onyonka and Posing to be telling us that even as you are subsidizing production, even as you are giving people fertilizers, ensure that it goes to the lowest levels.
Thank you.
I thought that is the way
we are saying that.
Senator Medu, you have pointed out a very key point, and that is what also the Constitution envisages: inclusivity. To your understanding,
Chapter 10.
Is serving the Kenyan people a privilege or a right by the government of the day?
Serving the people is a right.
What then do you make of the description of Kenya, according to Rigathi Gachagua? Because you have talked about the institution of the presidency, which you said should be a symbol of national unity, that should govern the Kenyan people in equity, appearing equal before the law. What then is your thinking when the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya describes this country as a company?
Well, I would have wished that you played the clip of what the Deputy President said when you were in Kanyapil in Homa Bay, when we went for the Thanksgiving of P.S. Omolo.
Yes.
You know, he said, well, we all agree that Homa Bay did not vote for our team, we would not have left you behind, because it is also a right for you to, one, get appointed in government, and number two, for you to get services from government. For your information, Ayub, in the amongst the 47 county aggregation centers, the second one to be launched by the president shall be in Homa Bay, which is not a county that even voted for us.
You're listing this as though you're doing privilege for the Kenyan people.
It's not a privilege. I'm only saying, I'm just demonstrating that there is no, there's nobody that is being left behind. There's nobody that is being, if you say that we are doing a privilege to anybody,
yeah,
it will then mean that the people of the regions that voted for us, yeah, are getting these services freely, and then there is some other set of people that we're only giving them as tokens. I'm only saying that if then that was the case, this kind of development will not be going to those areas. You've seen the president in the coast the whole of last weekend. He was taking development to those people. It was not a privilege. Okay. It's a right because they voted for him. He's the president of all the people.
Okay. Were you the deputy president of Kenya? Will you describe Kenya as a company or a sovereign state and a republic as the constitution?
He has described it as a sovereign state. Okay. Only that as a politician, as a politician myself, yeah, I would want to use a language, yeah, that would endear me to these people. I know you are telling these people, even though you did not vote for me, here I am. Even though you didn't vote for me, here I am. Okay. So that it makes it easy for you even next time.
One final question. Tell me then, because you have cited the example of P.S. Raymond Omolo, then was awarding Omolo based on merit, qualification, or which was...
The president said so. The president said that I gave Omolo because I looked at him. In fact, leave alone Omolo. Yeah. Speak about the man who was seen on video trying to subvert the will of the people, who is the CDF of the Republic of Kenya.
Well, that is not a...
He said, the president said, when we were there, the president himself said, out of his qualifications, I confirmed him as CDF.
To just be clear, we have to move on. To just be clear, Senator Meadow, and we have to be factual in this case because of the viewership enjoyed by this show and any other for Royal Media Services. The military in Kenya has a defined and predictable structure under the Tonje rules. If it's not Air Force, it's Navy. If it's not Navy, it's Army. Very predictable.
They didn't have an option.
And it isn't therefore a privilege for anyone to tell us or to tell the Kenyan people about that. And I did inquire about the president about that. So it isn't about privilege. It's a right that any Kenyan enjoys under the Constitution.
We all agree.
Yes, Kosing.
Ayub, I like the question you asked, and I thank you, my brother. And I'll be coming here more and more because of your questions. The biggest problem, and I want to say this, I know these people will not say, but let me say, the biggest problem is Gachagua in this country now, and even in these negotiations. The biggest problem is him and other people who talk like him. They don't want to allow the president to exercise Article 10 of the Constitution, and Article 131. And I want you at your free time to read. Why am I saying that, Ayub? And I want you to listen to me very carefully. When Gachagua, the Deputy President, His Excellency Gachagua, said that this country is of shareholders. That's a company, as you said earlier. Shareholders versus non-shareholders. And the president himself has not even categorically said, in accordance with Article 10 of the Constitution, all of us are together. Is the president being boxed? Number two, and these are evidence. When the president decided and said 5 people were going to Yala, and I'm telling you, people of Kenya are watching, and that is the biggest problem of these talks. Let allow the president. So when the president decided the 5 people were going to Yala, including Mulili from Ukambani, you know what happened? Gachagua called for a meeting in his office, right? To disagree with the decision of the president. which was decided in the State House. And what happened? He fronted another person who won. And he went back to his home. And he said, you know what? I even helped this person to win. The other guy for East Africa. Number 3, when the deputy president and the president were in Homa Bay, he said something that irritated me. You know, being a Kenyan and knowing that the president will be respected. You know what he said? That the president pleaded with him to appoint Omolo. You can even repeat his speech in Homa Bay. That, you know what? Even the president had to plead with me. Oh, allow me to appoint Omolo as a PS. I didn't want Omolo, but you know, the president pleaded with me. What is that? And finally, yesterday,
okay,
not even a long time ago, yesterday, you know what Kachagwa said? You know, these people have Azimio. I'm not going to give you security for the next 3 months.
Okay.
This is the president. I want to say that these people don't allow the president to work. And that is the weakest part of this.
Okay, you are saying these people, who are they? Are they faceless? I mean, and you seem to be more concerned and focused on the workings of the administration and the government of the day and their frictions rather than the opposition's cause for you have said.
We have a cause we are put on the table. We look at the president. The president is struggling. And I'm saying the truth, Ayub. Look, open this your newspaper, which you read to me. Just open it and go to page, what? Page, is that page 6 or what? Page 6. The people behind these talks, the people who convinced the president and the prime minister.
Murkomen was sued according to the paper.
Yeah. If you look at that, if you look at those people, look at those people. Where is the deputy president? So I think that's the weakest link, in my view.
Okay.
We have our issues as opposition and as people of Kenya.
Thank you.
The thing that we want to pray, and we now as moderate people, you know, me included, moderate MPs and so on. I want to tell my colleagues from Kenya Kwanza, let us allow the president to exercise his power.
I'll talk to you about the talks. Yes, Honorable Soro, you have been nodding head, certainly not in agreement to what Kosing has said. But I mean, talk to me about this. This is now Obasanjo and the facilitation done, confirmed by the opposition and the president who met in Mombasa on Friday last week. Talk to me about Honorable Soro and all of you honorable members of the bicameral parliament. Why we need a third party to mediate issues that the Kenyan political class can resolve, or is it because of a capacity that probably might be lacking from Kenya's political elite? Is it because we can't resolve our issues amicably? Is it because there is lack of respect on both ends of the political divide? Why certainly do we need someone to convene meeting between the president and the head of state who know each other very well?
I noticed that that question has come from you to different political quarters over the past few days, because it's really something that we also need to ask ourselves. But even before we get to that, I have noticed that Honorable Kosing, and specifically actually Honorable Kosing, he's hell-bent on demonizing His Excellency the Deputy President and making him look like a devil or something, or a person that is hell-bent in making sure that the country is divided. That is not the truth. And I think it's very important for me first to clarify that, even as I go to the other issue that you just raised. We all live in this country, and this is not very new. A few years ago, you'll notice that there are people who raised issue with the then Deputy President, now President, William Ruto. And they used to say, you know, Uhuru Kenyatta is good. The only person who is a bad person is the Deputy President. What does that show you? That in the presidency level, or at that level of the presidency, there will always be a person, and this is very normal. Even as the president works so hard to unify the country, which is very important, you should also have people who will run the political scene. And I think what the Deputy President is doing is also running the political part, because he's also the Deputy Party Leader of UDA. And many things that the Deputy President says are not very new. It's only that nobody has confidence to say them in public. And I like him for who he is, because he actually says things as they are. Well, these things have been happening all through, from the Kibaki times to all through. I mean, they've been happening. That you win. In fact, even the opposition side, you'll notice that Right Honorable Raila Odinga goes to the Luo Nation and tells them, you know, these people are bad people, they've not placed us in government. Or I mean, really, that in itself is division. And on the other hand, the deputy president, in defense of government, says, why do you even call us bad people? When we know very well you didn't vote for us, but you've been able to include so and so and so in government. So ideally, we shouldn't look like the deputy president is really against the unity of this country. The deputy president is focused in unifying this country. What he's only saying is this, and it's very factual. Why spend a lot of billions of money, you know, in elections? You know, spend a lot of money, budget for it, it's a democracy, and then after we win, we again sit down to discuss who won and how we won. Then these men should actually be sitting under a tree and discuss, like, and that is what Gulliver said, that you just should then sit down somewhere in some cage and decide who becomes president. Because after elections, you should let the winner drive his course. Then if he loses, I mean, if he messes midway, you have an opportunity after 5 years. So ideally, that should be clear. But on the issue that you say that we have structures, it is because of the mistrust that we have amongst ourselves.
The political class?
Yes.
Okay.
And you know, we don't really, with tremendous respect to Obasanjo, these issues also happen in their country. So it's not really something, it's not a preserve of this country. It happens even in mature democracies, that people have a lot of mistrusts, and it's a political thing, and I've never understood why, because at times people do not mean what they say in the political space. I remember Right Honorable former Prime Minister Raila Odinga say that he'll accept the outcome of the elections. But did he accept? He didn't. I mean, really, it's funny. I remember him again the other day, he say the cost of living issue is not only in Kenya, that in defense of Uhuru Kenyatta. Okay. You know, why are people making political statements, you know, want to take advantage of the cost of living issue? It's not just in Kenya's space and such. But again, immediately after William Ruto took over, he again changed tune and said, you know, these people have refused to lower the cost of living. So it is because of this mistrust.
Mistrust that also has, with the government of the day having its fair share of the problem. Mistrust.
No.
For example, on the cost of living, why didn't explain to me why the Kenya Kwanza, then campaigning for the August elections, denied the impact of the Russia-Ukraine war on economies across the world, including in Kenya, and then after the elections you said, certainly, yes, there were problems between Russia.
No, we denied, of course, that is true.
So there's a problem with Kenya's political establishment.
No, but you see, even then, we agreed that there are issues with the cost of living. Even then, of course, we denied the fact about the Eritrea, where I mean, the whatever war that is that affected the cost of living. But however, we've also come up with mitigation measures. We are not giving such as an excuse. What we are doing, we've come up with mitigation measures to lower the cost of living. Last week, you saw us distributing fertilizer at 2,500 shillings. Down from 7,500 shillings. I mean, really, we're already mitigating that.
The point is, Honorable Soro, the pronouncements that you political class do make, and earlier on you said that the president and the deputy president occupy the office of the presidency, but it's the deputy president who does the politics. So in your view, where is the line between doing the politics and talking about inclusivity as a member of that office, which is a symbol of national unity? You
see, we don't stop being politicians after we, get elevated to office. But because the president is the vision bearer, like he carries the entire plan, and the higher responsibility lies on him. If things go low, if they fail, then we'll blame him. Because that is him. This is his legacy. And he really must be focused on that.
No, however, it's the government.
But yes, that is the government.
The president is...
However, we also must run politics. We must have people who tell the opposition, hey, this is not the way. Because you can't expect the president to keep on responding to Right Honorable Raila Odinga quite often over every statement that he makes.
But the point
that is where we have to...
But the point is the tone, Honorable Soro, as we move forward. And allow me to read you this. 13th September 2022, I, Rigathi Gachagua, do swear, let's go into the deep of the paragraph, when so required, faithfully, truly give my counsel and advice to the President of the Republic of Kenya that I will do justice to all Kenyans without fear, favor, affection, or ill will, and that I will not directly or indirectly reveal such matters as shall come to my knowledge in the discharge of my duties and committed to my secrecy in the case of an oath, so help me God. This is the solemn affirmation by Rigathi Gachagua, yet he describes Kenya as a company. What's your take?
No. The description of Kenya as a company is figurative in nature. It is not, it's not a company like you put it. It is, we use a lot of, statements to make the common mwananchi understand how we run and do things. When he says that this is a company, for example, and with shareholders, he's simply speaking out the loud secret. I mean, it is an open secret that you all know. We all live in this country.
Is Kenya a company? As a lawyer, a member of the LSK, is Kenya a company?
No. It is not a company, but using a figurative statement does not really mean that if you say, you know, when you use a simile to describe something, doesn't really mean that you've lost the whole thing. Kenya is not a company.
Paraphrase for me what Rigathi Gachagua meant then.
The Rigathi Gachagua means this way, that even as we operate and do government structures, you understand? Like in creation of government and then in division of, you know, in terms of distribution of resources and everything. Okay. You must have leaders who are pushing for government agenda in your areas. So if you do not have a person, like now what happens in the case that happens in the company structure, there are shareholders that meet once every year, and each shareholder puts in a vote on whatever they want within the company structure. Now you have leaders here who are in the opposition. They don't look at anything positive. Last week, for example, I pushed for my people to get fertilizer in my area. If an opposition leader does not see positivity out of that from my area, then he's not part of that company shareholding because he doesn't want to be involved in that company. Like, it is simply a description and it's a
the shareholders of Kenya are the Kenyan people, as for the... Yes.
I want to help my brother Osoro.
Struggling.
The issue of inclusivity is actually, for me, the weakest point in the Kenya Kwanza Alliance political matrix. And indeed, the issues that Deputy President Gachagua, the points he has been raising, sometimes those points baffle some of us. Mm-hmm. If you look at what is on the ground, Ayub, the truth is on the issue of inclusivity. Yes, I know that the national government is supposed to, through the presidency, arrange and plan whatever and how they feel the agenda is going to be, because the manifesto was already saying what they're going to do. Then the Kenya Kwanza Alliance comes in. If we sit in this studio here today and get the list of the people that the president has appointed to the critical positions, it's dumbfounding. Even President Moi never did what has just been done by the KK Alliance government. Some of the people, I'll give you an example, my brother Ayub. You take like the Kenya Airports Authority. The chair is a good man, he's well educated. Look at the list of the people who have been appointed to that list. They know nothing about civil aviation. It is basically an arrangement of friends, people who participate, and there's nothing wrong with rewarding the people who helped the government of KK Alliance to take over leadership in this country. But at some point, Deputy President Gachagua must know, and we have said this, and I'll say it in this studio, his words mean a lot because he's not an ordinary Kenyan in the street. Right now, Kenyans are just fed up of this noise. The noise of you people are the ones who have been creating the mess in this country. You people are the ones who went and joined Uhuru. They never talk about how the former deputy president, who's now the president, Honorable William Ruto, was with Uhuru Kenyatta. The first 5 years, they were together. So any of the mistakes that Uhuru was making, William Ruto must own up. And what we are saying is, it is unconscionable for the government to constantly keep talking about how we in the opposition are interested in things which don't even exist, how we want Nusukate, how we want to negotiate to be given cabinet positions in this government. Those positions have been taken. PS positions have been taken. CS positions, the court has thrown out. There is no government that we are going to share with William Ruto. What we want to do is actually oversight this government with legitimacy and with fairness. In other words, we must begin to inculcate the culture of democracy in our country. This notion that the winner takes it all, yes, you can argue and say how it is the right of the KK Alliance to employ the people they want, they pick their friends, they do. That is okay if that is what you want. But what we are saying, this nation is actually bigger than any of us. Okay. This nation requires a semblance of normalcy. Schools function, money is sent to the schools. I mean, the Kenya Kwanza brothers we have here think that every morning we wake up, we are criticizing them. The things that, Honorable Soro, that you people are going to do that are positive, we will support you. All right? I have heard you say fertilizer is now coming to 2,500. I haven't verified that. We are going to check. The fertilizer you are saying that was being distributed, yes, you are the majority whip. You can get that fertilizer. How many MPs in Kisii have gotten that fertilizer? We don't know. We are going to vet you. This fertilizer is being stolen and being sold by officers from government. We know the stories which have come out. We know that. Since your government took over, look at the scandals that you guys have come up with. They are not less than 6. I mean, we are saying governing is much more complex than calling a press conference and ranting over it. Kenyans' emotions have been so high. People have died. People are being buried. Others are sick in the hospitals. What we are saying, a serious political leader in our country must be able. And that is why I say I give William Ruto a lot of credit. I agree with my brother here. The presidency is under siege. It is under state capture.
Okay.
There are individuals within the KK alliance who are shocked that William Ruto is talking with Raila. But what is William Ruto's history? He was in ODM. He has been in KANU with Raila. He has been in government with Uhuru. All these people know each other. It's only us who pretend that these are strangers who have come from some world, and in fact, what is going to happen, they can kill each other. No.
Okay, Senator.
Let us be a people who are willing to talk with each other.
Your point noted, Senator.
Yes.
Senator, your point is noted. Well, talking about history of Raila Ruto.
Yes.
Why then do they need a third party to mediate?
Sometimes
between the two.
In discussions, you know, we are Africans, you are and me, all our brothers here. If you have a fight with your wife, don't you call the sister and say, can you talk to...
Not necessarily, depending on the...
But under normal circumstances, when two people are having a dispute, and even if this dispute is very convoluted and very emotional, sometimes you need an interceder. And as far as I'm concerned, if there are people who feel that Obasanjo is not good enough, we really don't care. They can name who they want to come. Because the issues that you have, and the reason why I believe Obasanjo came, this is what he's been doing in all these African countries.
But the point is, Senator Wanyonyi, can you agree with me? This is not the first time we are having talks, but of not such a degree. We had the Serena talks in 2008.
That is true.
And we had other sets of mediators, some now deceased. And they have no nice words for the Kenyan political establishment.
That is true.
That you subscribe to.
To a large extent, if you came from Europe and you came in an aeroplane, landed at the airport and picked the paper, would you take our political class to be a group of serious people?
You included
Absolutely.
Okay.
We make fools of ourselves. We discuss issues that are irrelevant. We are not talking about how... look at the headlines today. Students who are supposed to go to the university, there's no money. You look at our hospitals, same. You go to the county governments, the same. Instead of people managing the affairs of state and managing affairs of county and making sure that the country is being managed well so that the country... We in the opposition, and I want to tell my brothers here, Honorable Matthew, you know we've discussed this. Honestly speaking, we want the KK Alliance to succeed. We don't want the noise. You've seen the clip where there are so many of us put on that clip and everybody's talking. This is how our children are going to become the way the political class has become.
Thank you.
You come to your house and find your 3 kids are quarreling and breaking things all over the place. What is it with us as the ruling class? And we can't sit down and agree on the very basic things to make sure the country is managed.
And I brought out that matter because in the midst of deep-rooted corruption, cronyism, what you may term as state capture during the campaigns, it came up, favoritism. Kofi Annan, the former UN Secretary General, who was a key pillar in the talks in 2008, now deceased, in his book, Interventions, A Life of War and Peace, an entire chapter dedicated to the Kenyan political class, he mentions and accuses members of the Kibaki and the Odinga teams at the Serena talk for some time placing childish obstacles in his way to get peace. The 8 members of the negotiating team representing PNU are Martha Karua, Moses Wetangula, Professor Samongeri, the late Mutula Kilonzo, ODM's Musalia Mudavadi, William Ruto, Eldoret North MP, James Orengo, and Dr. Sally Koskei. In the same breath, the former Tanzanian President Benjamin Mkapa, the late diplomat and who is held in high esteem across the continent, also says in his book, My Life, My Purpose, a Tanzanian president remembers, he says, the talks would eventually lead to the signing of the National Accord and subsequent formation of a government of national unity, also known as Grand Coalition Government. However, he says, locking out Karua and William Ruto was the way to that peace because they were the most difficult people to deal with. Karua and Ruto today are on opposite sides of the divide. One is a president, another is a principal. You are members of subscribe to these different political formations.
Yes.
Why are you taking Kenyans, you, the political class, as a punching bag and converge when your interests are common, disperse when your interests are different?
Thank you. When you look at our political class, what is it that we are doing? For the last 60 years, what has happened? When we were supposed to have sat down and come up with the strategies on how to take our country to the next level, whether it was from 1970s, 80s, and 90s, when you look at the governing structures which have been created in this republic, even when you look at the constitution that we adopted, instead of having good faith and coming up with a constitution that was going to look at our unique coexistence as a people, all right? And I've sat here and I've listened to us saying the Constitution actually says the winner takes it all. Is that a recipe for a country that is divided in terms of parochial, communal, and even personal interests in making sure that this country governs itself? The problem that we've been having in our country is that for the 60 years that we've been running this country as a political class, we have never been at peace with ourselves.
Thank you.
You can go historically, how many people have been assassinated. You can look at the 1982 coup. What was the reason behind it? I saw an article here today where one of the journalists is saying that the people who actually held that coup need to be apologetic and need to tell Kenyans that there was a mistake. I can tell you the truth. If you carry on the strategies of political supremacy and superiority against your people, then they will come back to what Malcolm X used to say, by any means necessary. They'll try. And look at what is happening in Africa. If the leadership elite in Africa doesn't stop pilfering public money, doesn't engage people, doesn't make sure that we deal with the issue of the youth, doesn't make sure that our socio-economic political arrangement is fair, we are going to have these military coups whether you like it or not.
Okay.
So my point, Ayub, is this. The presidency, that is William Ruto and Gachagua, must agree to come with a common strategy. That common strategy is, are we going to continue making noise and abusing each other in public where our children are looking at like fools? Or are we going to sit down and talk like adults in the room and make sure that our country moves forward, peacefully agreeing? We in the opposition, we have agreed, Honorable Soro, we have surrendered. We are in the opposition. We are going to vet you. In the next 2 years, we'll be here discussing and telling you, oh, you've stolen this one you stole last week, you have got payment for oil coming, it's going to be $1 trillion, let's wait and see where the money comes from. All those things, that's our responsibility.
All boils down to leadership, and the irony is that despite the continent having half of the world's arable land, 500 million of people sleep hungry at night, yet the leaders were trooping to St. Petersburg to meet Vladimir Putin and pleading for the release of grain from the ports of Ukraine. Yes, Senator Medo.
To some extent, I would want to agree with Senator Nyonka on his very last point. But before then, you asked why Kofi Annan would make such an inference about the Kenyan political class. I would want us to conceptualize this matter this way, that there was an election that happened on the 9th of August. Then there was a president who was declared as the president-elect. There was peace and tranquility for 6 months. There was nobody who was making noise. There was no question on audit of the electoral process. Then 6 months later, somebody wakes up. They say, "No, we want the servers to be opened." All that kind of talk that came, and you have seen how it, it metamorphosized. Open the server, cost of living, inclusivity, new things coming up. Then we formed the bipartisan team, which was supposed to deal with these issues. Then people went on the streets. Some people have died. Some businesses have been, some people have lost their businesses.
Were they killed or they died?
They were killed.
They were killed, both policemen and demonstrators.
The government said only one policeman.
A policeman died.
Okay.
A policeman,
but why did
300 of them were injured.
Okay. Well, why did then the same statement also point out how many Kenyans were killed?
Well, you've been running yourselves an audit of how many Kenyans have been killed. You said that today a demonstrator died in Homa Bay.
Who speaks for the Kenyan people? Is it the media or the government?
It is the government.
And why did the statement by the Interior CS not mention how many Kenyans were killed?
Probably you mentioned, or probably you have mentioned.
Which
but
paragraph?
The point that I was making is that Kenyans have died. Some people have lost businesses. The most substantive question that I wanted to raise is this: that after all that, then we are going back to the same issues that were in the initial bipartisan talks. Then where is the Kenyan people in the context of those who have died, in the context of those who have lost businesses? Then we are just back to what we were discussing initially. What was so difficult in these issues being concluded by the Murugara Omolo team that had 60 days to conclude? Why then did we need Obasanjo to come and speak about the same issues over and over again? I agreed with the Senator Onyonka to the extent that for them it's to audit government. He has spoken about fertilizer. And I agree with him. If then we were to provide as much fertilizer as it can be possible, because we say that fertilizer is stolen, if there was so much fertilizer in Nyandarua, why would anybody steal? Because even if you steal, somebody will be able to access the same fertilizer from another different route. A person in a very small village in Jambini, a person in a very small village in Nyandarua, if they are able to access fertilizer, if you stole your own fertilizer, where will you sell it? Even everybody is accessing. Those are the kind of criticism that I would term very positive in terms of auditing government. He has spoken that in 2 years, they'll be able to tell us, what have you done? What have you not done? What have you done? But their work does not start in 2 years. Their criticism of government does not start in 2 years.
Okay.
It starts now. And they have, especially these two, they have a very premium opportunity of raising very substantive issues. He is with me in the Senate. Yeah. He has the floor of the House. He has said that counties are not doing as much as they can. He should also be very candid to say, for the first time since the invent of devolution, county money has been disbursed in time. It has not happened. It is unprecedented.
Yeah, we give you credit. That one we give you credit. Okay. We give you credit.
Isn't that something that would then point to a government that is so committed to supporting devolution? Just now you have ran a story here that the president said that when you're in the market, you shall get free Wi-Fi. People laughed about it. Now you have run that story. 420 spots are
more than even the target.
More than even the target. And we even take it to even 25,000. The target is 25,000. That is just one pointer. Every time there are many issues that we promised in the plan. We promised things to do with hazard fund. And you spoke about whether it's a right or a privilege. It's not a privilege. We have a plan that we have to deliver. We have a plan that we promised the Kenyan people. If then we are not able to deliver that plan.
Yes.
And it also then takes us to the question that Senator Onyonka asked. If the opposition thinks that we are so wrong in what we are doing,
yes,
why then would they be concerned? It is actually an adage that you do not disrupt your enemy when they are making mistakes. The reason why they are getting a little jittery is because they know that this plan is working, it will work, the economy is, the statistics are there, the facts are there, our economy is headed in the right direction, and they will not have...
Thank you, Senator Medo. We have no predictive skills as to what will happen next, but the Kenyan people will determine who will be in power again in 2027. That's given. It's very predictive in the Constitution. In your statement and final question, you mentioned commitment to the Kenyan people. And one of the issues that the Kenyan people expect the government of the day to talk about is the sanctity of their lives. And we have a Bill of Rights that the Constitution also elaborates very well and clearly. The head of state said his government is an open book. He's open to accountability, criticism, as long as we are driving our democracy. Tell me why the government has not stated how many Kenyans were killed. And in that line of commitment, because it's the government of Kenya that protects lives and property. Yet the statement by the Interior Ministry did not mention how many Kenyans were killed. It mentioned one police officer was killed. Unfortunately, may his soul rest in eternal peace. And for those recuperating, may they get the best medical attention. But where's the justice for the Kenyans who were killed? And why did the government not mention in the statement? Well,
I would not want to purport to speak for the Ministry of Interior. I would not want to say that I have the facts of the people who have died. And I'm certain that, and because we oversight government, we shall be able to even get these answers from government. But more importantly, and I feel that it is my personal considered opinion that even as we accuse police of brutality, which all of us condemn, when police use excess force, it's not something that we celebrate. It's not something that we say now, oh, they did very good, they killed such and such a number. But in the statistics, you also heard that about 350-something policemen were injured. So now, and we have just heard from our brother Posing, there is an Azimio Council that is chaired by President Uhuru Kenyatta, and he then so confidently says that my sons have such and such number of guns.
Well, I think that's a diversion. Okay. That's a diversion. Senator Medu,
brother, mate.
You are a lawmaker in the Republic of Kenya.
He's going out for fishing.
You talked to me about facts, not having facts about the issue, and you not being in a position, for example, at the CS for Interior's position, who issued that statement, for instance. But in your previous statement, you mentioned facts about the Hustler Fund, the agriculture, the price determination with fertilizer. How comes a lawmaker in the Senate of Kenya does not have facts about how many people were killed?
But you know how I got those facts? Yeah. Those facts have been had. Owalono told us there are 420 spots for Wi-Fi. Yeah. How would I have known if I have not sought for that statement already?
Okay.
So these are facts that have been given by government. Yeah. These are facts that you run every day here. So it's not a preserve for me as a lawmaker that I told you that the fertilizer is coming down to 2,500. It's not a preserve for me that I know that we have such and such a number of Wi-Fi spots anywhere. Okay. It's not a preserve for me that I know how much has been dispersed as Asrafan. Okay. You also know it yourself.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Kosing, and Honorable Soro, I'll come to you.
You know, you have raised 3 issues which I want to speak to. Number 1 is, what would we have for Basanjo? And I agree with my brother Onyancha. And African culture, and particularly where I come from, just in Pokot, if there's a problem, and then you bring Amze to be able to mediate you, and things move on. Why people are concerned, not only you, Ayub, why people are concerned in Kenya is because of what the late Kofi Annan wrote and said, maybe these politicians or leaders who are brought in for negotiations come to bring in small issues, politics, and so on, and shenanigans, and egoism, and so on. And I agree. I was in that bipartisan, the one that now is defunct. And then the moment we could go for a meeting, you find everybody is bringing very hard positions. Why? Because they're playing politics. They're playing to the gallery. But number 2, they have no capacity to speak for the principles, right? So that's why maybe our colleagues on the other side are saying, Azimio gave them Team A or Premier League, and they gave us Team C. Maybe that's why the talk comes from. That is why my good brother, I am suggesting, if you look at the team that has been presented by Azimio, which you really trust, right? Those are people with capacity. Kalonzo can make decisions without even thinking twice. And we in Azimio can trust Eugene Wamalo and so on. But the moment Kenya Kwanza bring people who will look for consultation, like an example I'll give you, when we differed on preliminary issues in the last bipartisan, so we said, okay, fine, you people can consult. Go and consult and bring back what we think. You know what? The other side from Kenya Kwanza, the maximum they could reach was the little majority, Ichungwa. And they told us, you know, we cannot be able to even go beyond there. So I am suggesting so that we make success. And this is the truth, Ayub.
Okay.
What kills some of these negotiations is that the people we send for those negotiations have no capacity even to make decisions. They are not capacitated to make decisions. So I'm pleading with Kenya Kwanza so that they show seriousness. It's also the people you nominate for these talks. If you look from Azimio, as my colleague on the Bonyanja said, we have a lot of confidence with those people. And they can make decisions without even...
Okay, what then makes you think that the other end has persons who are incapacitated for the talks?
We don't know what they are going to name. I'm saying from experience. You know, you have a benefit. I was sitting in that committee of bipartisan. When people ask for consultation and they go to consult people who those... So the third level, and then the third level will go to second level, and when will you make a decision? I am suggesting, and that is why Kofi Annan said, which is true. He said it, I was watching in Serena. He said, let me go and meet the president. That is Kibaki and Raila. I'm wasting my time with these negotiators. That is exactly what might happen. And that is why I'm saying, I look at, and our team, I will say, our team can actually make decisions. I'm praying, and Kenyans will see whether Kenya Kwanza are serious by the people they are naming. And I'm suggesting, of course, the 2 people who have been mentioned, are in terms of their capacity, they are well capacitated.
Okay.
That's the leader majority in National Assembly and Senate. I am proposing when they're going out of Parliament, they should also name Murkomen as one of the negotiators, because we want to make progress. If you look at all what Senator Waziri Murkomen has been doing in all this, you will find that he's behind making these things to work. So such people, for example, I'm not saying there should be one, but I'm saying that such people should also be brought in place so that they can make decisions. And then we make...
So then you acknowledge that there's generally a problem with Kenya's political class when it comes to negotiating for
decision-making. Yes, decision-making.
Yes.
You included members of the opposition.
Yes.
Anand points out that.
Let me tell you this.
Okay.
No, I've not said, don't cut my time. I'm saying you this.
You have the time, yes, please.
Listen, give me a bit of some time.
So you have the time, please proceed.
And I'm saying, if you take people who cannot make decisions, who will look for consultation or look for answers, then you appoint somebody who will look for Osoro. And then Osoro will look for Ichungwa.
Then Ichungwa looks for the president.
There is no talk there. You need somebody like Alonso, for example, His Excellency Alonso Musyoka, or Raila himself, and the president, and the deputy president. I'm proposing, that's why I'm proposing. And something that they need to take home in Africa. The idea in Africa of winner takes it all does not apply in our culture. Even the numbers that, okay, well, I have won, and therefore I should be given the time to lead, does not work in Africa. What works in Africa is this, in our culture, is how do people feel part of your administration? How do people feel part of Kenya when you are the president? That is what matters. It's not about the numbers.
Okay, so you say the current dispensation is not elaborately or does not elaborately address inclusivity issue?
No, they have not at all.
Okay.
That's why there's a problem. Listen.
Okay, that's a debate for another day, Honorable Kosing.
Yes, that is why Kenyans have signed.
Because
we are now going to 9 million.
Okay.
9 million signatures.
Because of,
people saying they are uncomfortable.
Okay, because of time.
That's not a good thing.
Okay, because of time. And
not a good thing.
Just a synopsis of what we have as structure as the Constitution is that we have the minority and the majority leadership. And that's not determinant upon the executive because they form, the majority is formed by the MPs or the lawmakers of the majority of members of Parliament, the National Assembly and at the Senate. I mean, and Parliament is an independent entity. Kibaki in 2007 won the elections, but ODM had the majority in the House, including the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker. Yes, Honorable Soro.
Can I answer that?
Let him make his submissions.
I'm surprised that...
I'll come and answer later because you asked me...
We will sample the feedback and then brief remarks as a question.
Yes, because there's a very important thing that...
But I'm surprised that Honorable Kosing is suggesting the team members to join the negotiation from our side. It is very shocking. And of course, at the tail end of his submission, he puts it clear that, the system of winner take it all does not work in Africa. That in itself answers the question why they are pushing for the negotiations. I mean, really, that is what we've been... The hardliners like myself, that is what we have been saying. That
are you?
People, yes, I am. Because we went to an election, we were in a pitch, we organized our team, and we gave people, each person numbers, what number to play and such. Some were injured and such like that. Those are the people now, of course, you hear Honorable Rigathi Gachagua say, you are injured, how do we leave you? And that is why he calls it a company and such like that. So we were in a pitch, we won. And if we're in a pitch and we won, then they are here and they want to organize our team. They want to say, okay, fine, we are now on some break, of course, relegation or such, and then we want, of course, to prepare ourselves for the next game, and they are telling us, okay, in your team, we need you to include so and so. I mean, really, we won. And that is democracy. And that is why these guys are all over saying, this winner take it all does not work and such like that. I mean, but why then do we go to an election? We go to an election because we have a vision, because we have a plan, and Kenyans believed in our plan. Give us time to plan our plan, to actualize our plan. Then we have another 5-year time to review if we fail. So the negotiation is not about all these things they are raising. By the way, it's to create positions. And for us, we are saying we won't allow it. Because we've already taken positions.
Let him finish his point.
We've already taken positions.
Can we keep quiet?
Okay, let him finish. Let him finish.
There are no positions given.
Can we keep quiet?
Honorable Kosing, can we have some order?
Okay.
He's saying that democracy doesn't work, and that is why we need negotiation and the government working and stuff like that. You see, when you want to join government, that we really fought for. When I was campaigning in my jurisdiction, Honorable Nyonga can confirm, it wasn't even easy to don a yellow T-shirt. It wasn't easy. And I was being harassed left, right, and center. I was a state guest every month. I was being arrested every month for being in association with William Ruto. Now I'm here, we've won. Kosing is telling me, you know, this thing doesn't work. We need to negotiate. I mean, really, why were you fighting me in the first place?
Okay, thank you. And then the electoral cycle is now done. Let's sample the feedback. I'll give you the closing remarks here. Winnie, what do we have on #Daybreak or at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir? Here's what's coming up. And we thank you for your feedback. The first one comes from Brian Chema, who says the talks should encourage a common vision for the nation's future and focus on shared national interests to help bridge the gaps and strengthen unity among Kenyans. I fail to understand Senator Medhu and Osoro. Citizens are suffering from those unpalatable words. Bobo Tieno Wine says the accusations Honorable Posing are accusing the DP Rigathi Gachagua were once accused with President William Ruto when the current opposition leader Raila Odinga was pushing for a handshake during the last regime. Hiyo tabia tumezoea. Same script and tactics.
Very good.
Magwas 3 says Kenya Kwanza, which is saying that it won't discuss power sharing with Azimio, is the one pushing for entrenchment of the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary and the office of the opposition in those talks. Highest degree of hypocrisy. Kenya Minde says the biggest hurdle to these talks is Gachagua. He is not speaking the same language with his boss. While others are talking about negotiations, he is stuck on handshake and nusu mkate, yet Raila has stated that he wants none of that. Engineer Lazaro says the discussion table should be widened to include players from various fields. Politicians will only use the podium to display their differences. Views of millions voted for opposition and millions who did not vote at all shouldn't be ignored. Okelo Mwalimu says hardliners in President's corner fear dialogue as it will render them irrelevant. On the other hand, those in Raila's corner, who are less resistant in bracket, won't welcome any attempt to elevate him, as this will reduce their chances in 2027. Sanixon Ndugure says, if for sure all sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya constitutionally, then we expect to be included in the talks by at least watching the bipartisan talks or any related discussion live, he says, and period. Babu Michelle K says cost of living must be the top of the agenda the current bipartisan talks because the KK government have not been giving faulty timelines from next week in caveats, from next month in caveat, cost of that, and this will go down, and which have never been said. Kenya Kwanza 11 says trying to wedge a rift between Ruto and Gachagua won't work, Mr. Kosing. And Kipto Ruto says it's encouraging to see bipartisan talks fostering dialogue among leaders for our country's betterment. While cost of living concerns persist, let's hope these discussions pave the way for peaceful resolutions and an end to demonstrations. Anda Barasa says Azimio honestly should maintain their opposition role as decided by Kenyans to keep oversight. The issue of talks is just to secure placement in government, which will greatly harm the working of the government of the day, just like the previous regime. Kenya Minde says Osoro should stop abusing the intelligence of the common mwananchi. We know what Gachagua meant. No amount of sanitization will change it. Exactly. It has even been demonstrated in state appointments. Sam Masika _ what Rigathi Gachagua meant with the company remarks is that the people who form a business should profit from it. It's common knowledge. It's the same way. Those who help KK win should benefit from it. Some Njuguna Kenyans may be willing to wait for the plan by KK to actualize, but it's irritating to have leaders who keep chest thumping day in, day out. You won the elections, Osoro. Get over it and work. What's with this PR stance?
90% against
for me, the
90%.
The point.
Briefly, Senator and honorable members, because we are out of time.
I just want to make I want to make a comment, and my comment is very simple. I really want to persuade my brother Osoro and my brother Methu, gentlemen that I have a very high regard because they are young and they're getting into this game. My honest request to them is very simple. We don't have any other country we are going to run to. The issues which are being raised are not about us looking for jobs. Do we need to look at our elections? Yes. Should we look at the elections with a rear view mirror? Yes. Should we then come up and start talking about the illegitimacy of William Ruto's presidency? No. Do we accept that there are challenges for the country? Yes. Look at the way KK Alliance has been employing people in government positions, in parastatal positions. Yes, you want to reward your friends. But there is something called the Kenyan-ness of all of us.
Thank you, Senator. Yes, Senator Medhu.
Mine, I would be this. As we speak on the issues that are there, going forward, then we must also stop taking the people of Kenya for a ride. In this sense, now that we are speaking about the IBC law that was passed in the National Assembly and in the Senate, I fail to understand how people are speaking so passionately about it, and when they had an opportunity, which you do not have, which the Kenyan people do not have, to speak in the floor of the House, they walk out.
Thank you.
So when you walk out, whom do you want to speak for the people of the area that elected you? Democracy says that even if the winner will have its way,
thank you.
You have had your say. They would have said these things on the floor of the House, lost, then they will take it outside. But when they have not spoken in the floor of the House, then they want to speak up in the streets, in barrios. It's very unfair to the people.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Kosing.
Thank you, Ayub. Number one, I would say, let the Kenya Kwanza hardliners and psychopaths allow the president to work and unite the country. That is very important. Number two, we are expecting that the people who are going to be in the negotiating table from tomorrow will be people with capacity and to make decisions so that we can make way forward. But in terms of people bringing companies and so on in Kenya, that is an irritating. And they should now keep quiet to allow now the negotiation to be able to achieve, not to toxify the environment.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Soro.
Prepare your house, the opposition, for the next race in 2027. The president is focused on building the country, but still the political side is being driven. That is why you see recruitment drive by Senator Emerita Cleophas Malala all over, recruiting new members of the UDA, while Azimio is still, making around town and trying to seek for negotiation and join government through the back door. We will not allow. There is no handshake.
Your time is all appreciated. Many thanks, Senator Richard Onyonka, Kisii County. Your time is appreciated. John Medhu, his counterpart from Nyandarua County, much appreciated. Thank you for your time, Senator. Honorable David Kosing is the Pokot South lawmaker, all appreciated. And Silvanus Osoro, of course, he has unmiked himself, the majority whip at the National Assembly. Your time is all appreciated. Many thanks for coming aboard to take stock of the country's development. Up next is Safina Chieng Oma, and we'll see you tomorrow morning here at the same time. Good morning.